Push the button. I got it pushed.
Hey everybody, I'm Hob.
I'm Jamie.
And you're watching
Dungeons and Dragons.
And this is our 11th episode in the 12 weeks of adventure.
We're almost done with adventuring.
Adventure or adventurers?
Adventurers?
I don't know.
I don't know. You ready? Dun. I feel like I need one of those little tuning, like, anyhow. Yes, exactly. All right. On the 11th week of the adventure, my DM gave to me 11 bards a piping, 10 monks a leaping, 9 clerics praying?
I would hope so. Praying.
8 rogues a thieving, 7 sorcerers conjuring, 6 fighters fighting, sing it with me, 5 shining paladins.
Paladins.
Thanks. 4 warlocks pacting, 3 rangers tracking, 2 wizards learning, and a druid trying to talk to the trees.
So, this
Bards!
week, it's all about bards.
It's
her
my
favorite
class. Guess what kind of troublemakers bards get? No, okay. What is the best buddy comedy pairing with this class?
The best buddy comedy pairing with
the
this class?
Barbarian. You gotta get a bard and a barbarian. The bard and the bard. Barbard.
Barbard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could go with a barbarian. Pretty much any character class, any character, actually, that is going to be made wildly uncomfortable by extremely boisterous social situations.
Or can't understand, like, the final subtleties. Like, if you have the bard trying to be all suave. No, likes fine wines. Pair him with the bard that just doesn't or barbarian that just doesn't understand it.
Just doesn't get it.
Doesn't get it. How can you help a player be successful with this class? Oh boy.
I'm gonna leave that all up to you.
First of all, bards are so versatile. Like, they can be like, what kind of bard do you want to play? Well, anything.
So,
like, really anything.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the success with this class is going to come from someone who isn't afraid to
look a little like a
go
crazy person.
A little far towards being the weird jackass in the party.
Mm-hmm. Without being a super jackass.
Without being a super jackass. No, like what I'm saying is encouraging success is going to require the player to stretch themselves a bit and move a little outside of their comfort zone depending on the player, in terms of the role-playing side of things, because the bard is going to rely very heavily on a real role-playing acumen and a little bit of theatrics and a little bit of thespianism and just a little bit of crazy.
Yeah,
like, honestly, just
a
little bit of, I'm going to do something really, really stupid, but it's going to work. And that's it.
I think, like, and I loved the bards, and you guys hear me talk about this all the time. I love Wheel of Time. And so I really tried to play my bard kind of like Tom Maryland, where a lot of people would be like, oh, we're going to sneak in here. And I would be like, I don't need to sneak. I'm a bard. And I just walk up and knock on the door and be like, I'm here to entertain you.
There was, I think that lended a lot to your success at playing a bard. I don't know if it would lend a lot to everybody's success at playing a bard.
But here's the thing, though, is with the actual, like, class itself, again, the bards are very versatile. So you're going to have to, like, really get them to sit down and think about what kind of bard they want to play and then build a character to suit that. It's one of those classes that can either go really, really right or really, really wrong, a lot like the sorcerer.
Yeah, I would say that working with your player to make sure that they fully understand the capabilities and powers and spells that they have at their disposal as a bard prior to starting the game is probably going to be your largest key to success for them, because it can be very complex. And very versatile.
Yeah. So, are there subclasses you avoid for this class, and why? I haven't run into a bad subclass, really. I think some of the subclasses are better than others, but I don't think I've come up against one that I'm like, oh Lord.
No.
I just don't want to see someone play that.
No, I haven't run afoul of any of the... I don't think any of the subclasses have made my spidey senses tingle, as it were. You know, and I think with the Bard, it's more the type of player than it is the character class.
And we'll get to that in a little bit. But what is your favorite house rule for this class? I have one. And my favorite house rule is if you're going to play a Bard, you have to play a Bard. You're either going to have to sing at my table, or speak in rhymes, or verses, or something. Someone brought a guitar once. It was great. But I do require you to be a Bard. I don't
usually allow bards at my table. In the past, and mostly because I've been soured to them. I think you were the first person who ever played a bard at my table in well over
I'm glad that
years.
You let me play a bard at your table. My bard was so fun.
I had been heavily soured to the character class just by the types of players that sometimes are attracted to it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the groups that I was playing with, those types of players were more often than not attracted to playing the bard.
And to go on with that success with. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But no, I don't have any specific house rules as far as the bard is concerned at this point. But I reserve the right to put the kibosh on the bard shit.
Success. Another thing about success is you have to also set the tone for your campaign.
Yeah.
In other words, like I've played bards, really silly bards, and I've played really serious bards, and if you put the wrong bard in the wrong campaign, you can be the jackass no one wants to play with. Hey, Scam Likely's calling me.
Well, probably don't want to talk to them.
No, I don't want to talk to them. But, like, I had one bard who followed people around, played the bongos, and just narrated everything like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory.
That was actually pretty damn funny.
The bard breaks down the door like I played the bongos.
Wait, but you weren't playing a bard. You were playing a druid.
I resurrected that crazy character as a bard in another campaign.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So that was a really fun and silly, but it was a short campaign because think of how annoying that would be if you were playing that over an extended period of time and you had a bard in the party that just narrated everything while playing the bongos. It's only funny for like a short half-hour campaign.
One-shot sessions.
Yeah, so it really, success and not wanting to like kick the bard in the gonads happens to have a lot to do with making sure that the player understands the tone of your campaign.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Cool. We did that one.
Yep. And the reason why I make bards be bard is because people who just want to use the bard class to be jerks will normally shy away when I tell them they have to bard.
That's true.
What player persona is going to get the most out of this class?
I think I kind of covered that with somebody who's a little more flamboyant, a little more willing to go out on the role-playing limb, add some theatrics and some thespianism to it.
Yeah.
They're going to get the most out of this character class.
Oh, yeah. They're going to get a lot of fun out of this. What kind of baddie is good to challenge this class? Like most utility kind of characters, you're going to want to put things in front of them that are either similar enough to them that they can negate a lot of those helping hands that they have, like the bardic inspiration and stuff like that, or something that is just a little more OP than they are.
Any kind of enemy that is capable of negating positive status effects or canceling spell effects. Other bards actually can make
bard duels are fun.
Yeah, another bard type class could definitely hinder a bard in a party.
Well, we say that a lot.
Fairly well.
Another of the same class is always going to give you a run for your money.
Sometimes, if it's done right. But yeah, and things that are immune to status effects. Anything that has status effect immunity, especially to things like charm or charisma-based spells are going to...
there's a lot of charisma-based spells.
Are really going to give the bard a challenge.
Okay, so what is the biggest misconception of this class? Okay, so we've been talking a lot about how bards have to be flamboyant. I think that's also kind of a misconception.
True.
Like, your flamboyant players will get a lot of fun out of the bard. You don't necessarily have to be a flamboyant bard. You could be a far more serious bard. Think a concert pianist or a court bard.
And you also have, if you look at some of the subclasses, you have the, the blade dancer one. I don't think it's called blade dancer. I can't remember what it's called today. But anyhow, there's the one that's very specifically the College of Swords, I think it is.
Oh, it's the swashbuckler.
It's a swashbuckler style bard class. And that class actually lends itself to a much more serious type of bard character, where you start getting into things like duelists and people who are paid for hire dueling experts type of things, and it's showmanship and artistry and not so much about bleeding things to death, but very skilled nonetheless.
The other one that I see a lot of, and when I go through on boards and other videos, people talking about bards, is they say that a lot of people who gravitate towards the bard, they're going to go, oh, well, I'm a bard. I'm just going to sit this fight out or sit this out and see how it all shakes out, because I'm just here to tell the story and not get involved. That's not necessarily a good way to think about it. Again, if you go back to, if you haven't read Wheel of Time, I'm sorry, because I make a lot of references to it. But if you go back to someone like Tom Marilyn, who is a gleeman and a court bard and all of these things, he is no slouch when it comes to getting involved. I mean, he took on a Myrddraal and lived to tell the tale.
True story.
So I feel like making sure that they have this understanding that bards are adventurers. There's a reason you're out adventuring, looking for the stories, looking for the old songs, and make sure that they understand, like, a big part of that is you're adventuring. You're not in the common room or the castle anymore playing for the royalty. You're adventuring, but why?
Yeah.
So that's an important thing to put into this class, I feel.
I agree.
Almost skipped one. What game elements might you include for a player playing this class? Ooh. Things like magical instruments or super secret songs.
Magical instruments, super secret songs.
A lot of lore that they know.
Yeah, a lot of lore, a lot of fables, fairy tales, folk songs, those types of things. Depending on the bard themselves, history.
This gives you a fantastic opportunity, too, though, because...
It does, because...
It lets you think of your world in terms of history, so... a historical figure...
not just in terms of history, but in terms of myth.
And
myth. Legend.
Like Hercules. Let's say Hercules actually existed, was a real person, and then over time, the stories of Hercules got shifted and retold and everything until he becomes this amazing... mythological, person. You can think about your world, and here's this little event that may have happened. How did they take that, and how do they look at it now through the lens of history? It's a wonderful opportunity for you as a storyteller and as the DM to get a chance to explore that a bit.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll let you take this one. What challenges can this black class bring to the table? Okay, so we'll ask the question, why did you ban bards for so long?
So, I put a ban on bards for a few different reasons. One of the big reasons was that I had a couple of players who decided to play a pair of bard characters that were a duet, I guess.
Okay.
And rather than finding a reason to adventure with the party, they insisted on maintaining their duet and trying to override everything that was going on in the game in favor of going and being their duet together. And they would perpetually go off on their own, and without any thought whatsoever for the rest of the game group, or the rest of the game for that matter.
They were always splitting the party.
They were perpetually splitting the party, and without any real consideration for the game itself or the party itself. And it was more the type of player that would gravitate towards that character class.
And you hear that a lot.
They tended to be hyper narcissistic, hyper disruptive to the game and to the party, and the bard character, the players more often than not played their characters like that, and those types of people, their excuse was always, well, that's the way my character would behave.
Yeah.
And so I finally went, you know what? Nobody's allowed to play bards. Because if that's the only way that bards can behave, they're NPCs. Period.
And you'll find that, and I've noticed that a lot when you're, you have to take the internet with a grain of salt, because people tend to post when they've had really bad experiences and really great experiences. So all of the really bad experiences that I have seen that kind of gravitate around bardic players
are sort of in that same vein. That's for some reason very narcissistic people who want to make the campaign all about themselves, very narcissistic players. They want to be the center of attention 1,000% of the time.
Tend to pick bards. Yep. I don't know why. They're supposed to be background characters.
What? I didn't do nothing.
Are you calling me a narcissist?
Yes, but I love you anyways.
You know, that's not a really nice thing to call somebody, especially your wife. It's very rude. How dare you? I'm insulted. I might cry.
That's unlikely.
No, it's very unlikely. But they do. They tend to gravitate towards bards.
They do.
And I guess because, like, there's that rock star. It's the closest thing you can do to play an adventuring rock star, I guess, in the world. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know, but...
Oh!
Bless you.
Gazoon tight.
But I also think that goes back to setting the tone for your campaign. And one of the best ways to address it is be like, well, you're not playing the type of bard that's going to work for this campaign.
And that's one of those things that you'll know pretty early on if it's going to be a problem. And I think it's something that you should address early on in the game. And like Jamie said, by setting the tone early, making sure that they understand the type of world and the tone of the campaign itself, or the game, because silly narcissistic bards totally work in the right kind of setting,
with the right kind of party, with the right kind of expectation,
and with the right kind of other players as well.
Right kind of other players, but that also only works if the player themselves is willing to. And I think as we're coming to the end of these shows, one of the things I want to say about the whole thing is every person at your table should be getting some sort of limelight. Everybody.
Absolutely.
And the real problem with any player playing any class is when they can't figure out how to make someone else look good.
Yep.
It's kind of a group effort, those moments that we all remember when we're sitting around the table, the really funny ones, the really great ones, the time that one really cool thing happened. It's usually not because of the DM or just the player, but the whole set of circumstances has to set itself up correctly, and it takes the whole table to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree.
Yep. So if you ever come across any player playing anything who just can't share, then you have to kind of be like the parent and be like, if you can't share, then you can't play.
Yeah. I agree.
That's one of the biggest takeaways for D&D. I have my D&D wisdom for you.
And that's all we have for the Bard.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did enjoy what we're doing, please click the like and subscribe button below. Leave us comments. Tell us how wonderful or terrible we are. We appreciate any kind of interaction.
Yep.
Tell us what you think about the Bard, and tell us if we missed anything. And otherwise, click the little bell so that you get notifications when we post new videos. And thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Bye.